Oh, I never should have left without my mittens. Cold. It's the last day of February. It should be cold. Oh, hello there, folks. I don't mean to ignore you. I'm trying to get warm. It is monumentally cold out here. It's been snowing. All the cold stuff that could happen has happened. Welcome to the hospital. I'm Dr. Toombs. I run the hospital. It's good to see you folks again, those of you who I have seen before, and if you're new here, welcome. Hope you have yourself a nice time and learn something. Maybe have a little fun doing it. We left off the last episode of this channel a bit abruptly. I was planning to go to bed and get warm. It was quite late and it didn't look like anything was going to happen, and of course it did. That's where we left off. You may remember two men were coming straddling a patient, apparently a patient, in their cradling arms. Brought them to me, laid him out here, and he didn't have any shoes on. Right away I knew, or I thought I knew anyway, that we were talking frostbite here. They put him here on the table, put a blanket over him, which has since disappeared. Great. And I proceeded to investigate what was happening, to look him over. First thing I did, because of his pain, is give him a fairly liberal dose of laudanum, because he was in pain. Didn't take too long after that before he was largely insensible. I spent quite a bit of time delicately peeling his stockings off his feet. They had adhered to his feet. And once I got them off, with the help of the two comrades of his who brought him in, I could see affirmed it was indeed frostbite. Several of his toes were, at least at the tips, black. Some were nearing black, they were gray. And I have to intervene and do something lest he wind up, at best, just losing a few toes, or at worst, dying of gangrene. So I made him as comfortable as possible. And I told the two people who were with him, his comrades, here's what I want you to do, because he was in no condition to listen to anything I said, let alone understand it. I'm going to give you some of these opium pills. I'm going to give you 4 of them. I'm going to put them into a little paper mache box. Here's what I want you to do. Take him back to his tent, wherever it happened to be. Never did get his name. Never could get their names either. Get a bucket or some sort of container that will hold a fair amount of snow, big enough to fit both of his feet. Take him back, sit him on his bunk or a stone, sit him on something. Put his feet in the bucket and fill it full of snow. There's plenty of snow around here. You should have no trouble complying with this instruction. And I will come and see him in 2 days to see how well he's doing. These pills that I'm giving you are not for you. They're for him. He gets 4 pills, 1 in the morning when he wakes up to get him through the morning, and 1 just before he goes to sleep at night to get him through the night, get some rest. He cannot go to work. That's out of the question, not till this is taken care of. They said yes, all right, very good. They complied. They picked him up, took him off, went that way. And maybe his troubles have just not yet begun. The patient, he can't work, but that's how he makes his living. He works for the railroad. He gets paid by the railroad. If he's not working, he doesn't get paid. There's no provision for being off from work and still getting something like sick pay. That does not happen. The two comrades who are with him, ideally somebody should stay with him and see that he complies. Fills up the bucket every so often. If they stay with him, they don't get paid. It's quite it's quite a bad situation for all parties concerned. Now, I'm given to understand that all three of them are Irish, and I don't know if any of them are married. I know from talking to some of the workmen that many of them are almost fresh off the boat from Ireland, and many of them left Ireland to escape what they call the starving. There's a famine going on in Ireland. Many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of their countrymen have perished from starvation. The men here who are working and get paid send money back to the home country, and the families can live off of it, somehow purchasing food. But if these people are not working, they don't get paid, they don't send anything home, and those folks over there, they do not eat. I'm afraid, and there's really no way to stop it, that our patient here, as soon as he regains consciousness, and he knows that he's not going to get paid, will just return to work. I'll know in about 2 days, when I said I was going to see them again, what has happened, if he's any better. God willing, he will be. And if he isn't, well, we're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll just see. Now, if you're thinking snow, Dr. Toombs, he's suffering from frostbite, as you said, and he should pack his feet in snow. Well, yes, of course. Or cold water, if there's no snow to be had. But around here, this time of year, there's plenty of snow. Some of you may have heard this being an old wives' tale, that if you have a frostbitten part of your body, you should rub it with snow. But surely they didn't do that. That's just an old wives' tale. Well, in the last episode of this sub-series, the medical series of Dave Diggs History, I said there are going to be sources, and there are. You may want to sit down for this, and if you already have your feet in the bucket of snow, just take them out. I made some notes. We'll see what is written here. And I have to take these off because I cannot manipulate the page with mittens on. These are going to come back on real quick. I can guarantee you that. Oh, well, first source I'm going to quote you is from Michael Wallace, and he wrote a book called The Best Land Under Heaven, The Donner Party in the Age of Manifest Destiny. Here's the quote. None of the new arrivals at the camp ever forgot the image of Sullen Edward Woodworth supine on a blanket with two of his men rubbing his feet with ice to prevent frostbite. Yes, it happened. But if you're looking for a more first-hand account, not from a post-event book, but say a primary source, well, consider this. His name is Dr. William Buchan, or Buchan, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, and he wrote Domestic Medicine, or a treatise on the prevention and cure of diseases, and this is the 1848 edition, which is close as I can get to the year here, which is 1850. When a person has been so long exposed to the cold that all appearances of life are gone, it will be necessary to rub him all over with snow or cold water or whatever better will suit, if it can be obtained, to immerse him in a bath of the very coldest water. That's the primary source from a person who wrote a medical book, and he's a doctor. But wait, there's more. A Dr. John Neal and a Dr. Francis G. Smith. Neal is the surgeon to the Pennsylvania Hospital in Philadelphia, and Dr. Francis Smith is physician to the St. Joseph's Hospital. These are both doctors. They wrote a medical manual for medical students called An Analytical Compendium of the various branches of medical science for the use and examination of studentry. This is the 1858 edition. And under treatment for frostbite, it reads, produce moderate reaction, which will restore circulation and sensibility, taking care that it be not excessive, which would lead to dangerous inflammation. First, rub the part with snow, and then with cold water in a room without fire. For the comatose condition of the body produced by cold, also use friction with snow in a cold room afterwards, substituting flax or flannel, gradually giving warm and stimulating drinks such as wine and water. Primary source. Yes, indeed, not a wives' tale. This is what they were doing. Now, perhaps not every single doctor in the United States did this, considering how badly medical knowledge was fractured at the time. It's impossible to say. But just where does this idea, okay, so they did this, where did this idea come from? Perhaps it came from a doctrine, a medical doctrine, a fairly old one, which in layman's terms is like cures like. In other words, whatever got you in this mess, that's going to get you out. There's a Latin term for it. I'll have to read it because I do not speak Latin very well, although I am a doctor. Similia familibus seator, like cures like. And if you believe that sort of thing, you're going to be putting snow and cold water on people's frostbitten limbs, or immersing them in tubs of cold water, because that's what you've been taught to do. Pardon me while I get warm. In 2 days' time, I'll see him. I'll keep everybody posted on what has happened. And I had mentioned in the last, it's so much better. I had mentioned in the last episode about what will be upcoming in future episodes. I mentioned Ignaz Semmelweis and Joseph Lister as being two people who we'd be investigating. I don't want to leave out the Fair-Ersatz. There is always Elizabeth Blackwell and her sister. I want to go quite into depth discussing her, the sister, just because Elizabeth gets almost all the attention. What I wouldn't give right now for a hot cup of coffee or a hot cup of anything. There is some medicinal liquid in my kit, but really that's for my patients. I shouldn't. I better not. At any rate, I'm going to cut shop down here because, again, it's late and there's a warm bed waiting for me somewhere in this tent. I hope I find my blanket, too. Thanks very much for stopping by. I hope you've enjoyed your visit here. Hope to see you again. Get a like and subscribe, perhaps. And until I thaw out, or until our paths cross again, I have the honor to be your most respectful and obedient servant, Dr. Toombs, coming to you from not Antarctica, coming to you from a long time ago. Now, where's that blanket? Thanks very much for coming. Do take care of yourselves. Blanket. Come on, blanket.